Welcome to Fundraising Stories with Female Founders. I'm Julia Elliott-Brown, the founder and CEO of Enter the Arena. I'm a serial entrepreneur and an expert in raising investment and business growth. Our mission at Enter the Arena is to empower female founders to fly through pre-raise and investment and onto the exponential growth of their business with investment expertise and business coaching. Here we share the stories of inspirational female founders who've raised investment to inspire you to do the same. You'll hear their honest accounts of what it was really like to secure funding, the highs, the lows, and the challenges they experienced on the journey. And along the way, we'll discuss top tips for how you can be successful too. So I'm very pleased to be talking with Riham Satti from MeVitae today. Now, MeVitae is an innovative recruitment business that helps companies shortlist top diverse talent in the hiring process. And they do this by removing unconscious bias through the use of what they call augmented intelligence, which is kind of humans and computers working together to create superhuman decision making. Riham, who is at heart what she calls a hacker, co-founded the business in 2014. She is a woman on a mission. And this mission is to solve the biggest challenges through the use of technology, starting with recruitment and making a difference in diversity in the workplace. And let me tell you, Riham is one very smart lady holding not one, but two postgraduate degrees, clinical neuroscience from the University of Oxford and a Master of Engineering in Biomedical Engineering from Imperial College, London. Riham is also involved in several Women in Tech initiatives. She's the founder of LinkedIn's Women in Tech group and director at Tectonic Women. Now, in 2018, Riham raised £500,000 to support the growth of MeVitae. So today, we're going to be finding out more about her recruitment technology business, how Riham funded its development, and what she learned along the way. So welcome, Riham. It's great to have you here.
Oh, thanks for inviting me.
It's a pleasure to have you. So let's start off with a little bit about the company. So tell us more about how you had the idea for MeVitae and briefly kind of how it all works.
Sure. So it's a funny story of how the company started. It was back in 2014 when my co-founder was looking for a job and was really interested in getting a job at Microsoft at the time. And thought there must be another way to go through that recruitment process as opposed to just applying through a typical CV. So he thought, is there a way we can hack our way through and get him in a position? And so what we did is we built this app just over a weekend of Vivek's CVs and my co-founder's CV, and we put it up on the Windows Store. Before we knew it, we had tons of downloads. It was going viral, climbing about 100 a day. And before we knew it, we were in Microsoft's office going, what have you built? And like, I don't know. I was doing my research. I have no idea what we built. And the funny thing is, cut a story short, we started looking into the recruitment world and realized how fragmented it was and thought, we know how to build technology. How can we use technology to try and optimize decision making and solve some of the biggest employment challenges? And that's how MeVitae began. It's an interesting, funny one, yes.
Wow, that's amazing. I can't believe it just took off like that. And then you were suddenly in Microsoft's office. That's amazing.
Yes. Yeah, it's a brilliant, I love the story and the whole journey of how we started. And entrepreneurship was not meant to be on my path. I was doing my academia, kind of doing a PhD at the time. So I was like, what is going on?
So an accidental entrepreneur.
Yes. Yeah, some of them are born and some of them are made, and I think mine is just accidental.
So tell us a little bit about how it works then, and is the product sort of already launched? Is it out there?
Yes, it's out there. We spent about 4 years plus in the making developing this technology around, how do we shortlist top diverse talent? And usually within the recruitment process, employers, will have CVs, and there's a lot of stats saying they'll spend 6 seconds looking at the CV, etc. And all those kind of keyword matching technology out there, the word sells on the CV and the word sells on the job spec they match. But it misses out on, there's a lot of biases within the kind of CVs themselves. You can skip things when reading them and all of this. So we wanted to use natural language processing to be able to understand and analyze every text on that CV using past, present and future data to determine job suitability, and then redacting components of the CVs associated with biases, age, gender, sexuality. So at the end of it, employers shouldn't really know who they're meeting until they see them on the day.
Yeah, that's fantastic, because we do all make so many subconscious and conscious judgments about people just from looking at things like their name or the school they went to, all that kind of stuff, don't we?
Yes, we do. And it's a really strange one because, to be honest, HR should be, it's all about people, and talent shouldn't be standardized, and it should be based on kind of a meritocratic society. And, if you've got the skills to do the job, it shouldn't matter what your name is or what age you are, etc. And it's all about how do we do that using technology to try and augment people as opposed to replace them.
That's fantastic. So when you started this business, you funded it initially through grants, didn't you?
Yes.
So tell me more about who you got the grants from.
Yeah, so initially most people go raise investments, get your company off the ground, etc. And that's one way, but we thought there could be another way because we wanted just to develop the technology initially. It wasn't about scaling it out to clients. It's around how do we build that prototype, that MVP. And so there are tons of grants and competitions out there, tens of hundreds, to be honest. The ones that we went through were Innovate UK, which is a very kind of competitive competition for tech and innovation. So we got initially funding from Innovate UK, followed by the European Space Agency Business Incubation Centre. And that was kind of how do we use some space technology within our algorithms and our kind of development. So they funded us to do that. Regional Growth Fund. So collectively, we had about £250,000 of just R&D funding to build everything, these 4 years in the making, before we went into investment rounds, which you mentioned earlier in 2018.
So you must be a bit of an expert at writing grant applications then.
I think that's the transferable skill set of academia.
Yeah, because I think most entrepreneurs look at those application forms and think, oh my God.
That's what I'm in my norm.
Okay, there you go. So the benefits of academia. So and incredible, the European Space Agency. And I was going to ask you about that because I kind of thought, what is the connection between space and recruitment technology?
Yeah, so this is an interesting one. So what we do is we monitor employers' behaviors when they're hiring people over time. And we wanted to say if there's any anomalies in the hiring or if we can pick up biases in that hiring process. And so there's a lot of patents in the European Space Agency, and one of them is around anomaly detection. Can we pick up, sometimes someone might log into someone else's account and affect these behaviors or patterns. A bit about like Netflix. When someone logs into someone else's Netflix account, all their recommendations change. And so we wanted to try and prevent that within the hiring process when we're trying to understand patterns. And so we thought, okay, can we use this pattern or this technology and apply it in HR to detect anomalies in hiring behaviors? And that is the space link in essence. And it's really an interesting one around how do we make sure we understand and completely get the behaviors of employers and organizations, because what we want to do is make sure that we're shortlisting the right people that fit the company's culture at the same time without these biases.
So what's interesting about that is that you've obviously thought quite laterally about the kind of grants that might fit your business when you looked at that application.
Yes, no, absolutely. And I think our team is all around how do we apply technology. It could be from any sector possible. It could be VR, it could be, we even use neuroimaging to try and detect biases. It's all around how do we apply technology and use it uniquely to try and solve these challenges. And the wackier we go, the greater it is, the more fun for us.
Amazing. So then let's look at how you applied that when you went out to get your first equity fund raise, which you secured in 2018. So so you're going out to raise $500,000. What were your thoughts at that point then about the types of investors that might be a good fit for the business?
So to be honest, I was new with this process, completely new. First time we knew how to do grants, right? We knew how to fill in grant applications to get funding that way. Raising investment was a whole other ball game, very unique for me and our team. And where do we begin? What do I need to do beforehand to make sure that we've kind of got the right pitch deck, the due diligence, all of those things? And the initial first advice I got, so it's really important to have kind of mentors and people around you that have done it before. The first advice I got was find all the angel investors and VC firms, etc., that you know of or heard of, or find them online. Create a list, find out which ones fit into that bracket of that 500K. some VC firms only do millions and plus, some do tens of thousands, etc. So which ones fit into the sweet spot for us? And that was the start of, okay, building this map and journey of how do we do this investment round. And that was kind of our initial process.
Because of course, thinking about what investors are looking for when you're applying to them is so different from what grant funding organizations are looking for.
Yeah, so grant, it's all about technology. For investors, it's all about the team, the problem, the market opportunity. All these other things are running through their minds.
Yes, and of course how they make money out of it as well.
Precisely. And then it's how do you get a return on it? And it's really, there are overlaps, of course, between the grants. It's around how you kind of improve the economy and all of these, and job opportunities, which are kind of somewhat similar. But it's a completely different mindset and thinking style to kind of academia and academic mindset, I would say.
Okay, so you built that list, so you've got this big list, which must, imagine that if you're building that from scratch without support, that probably took you a little while.
It did take a while.
Okay, there are shortcuts to doing that, but there you go.
Yeah.
And so how did you attack that then? How did you approach those investors? How did you find investors to actually meet with you? And what were the results you got from that activity?
Introductions. That was the most efficient way of doing it. And I did try kind of reaching out, just kind of okay, we're raising our investment rounds, have a look at our pitch deck, etc. And we've tried to perfect our pitch deck as much as possible and try and make it as unique as possible as well. I think as most startups do. But the most efficient way was getting someone who was a secondary connection through LinkedIn, or someone who knew these VC firms or these angel investors and said, can you make an introduction to these people? We're raising our investment round. Was such much more warmer, much more efficient way of doing things. And it was then meeting up with them. But building a relationship was the most key thing. It's not about, we're raising 500, can you give us 500? It's around, do we fit together as a startup and them as a firm or an angel? Because they're going to be on your board, they're going to be working with you for not just 1 year, but 5, 10 years potentially. And it's around building that connection and making sure you do that along the way. And that was the most interesting thing to be able to kind of pick up during this investment round. So it wasn't kind of it takes a while to build that rapport with people.
Yeah, I mean, so two really important things then. What's interesting about the first point you made about introductions, there's been a very recent report out, it's called the Rose Report, which is commissioned by the government.
Yeah.
If you had a look at it, it's all about female entrepreneurship, but it talks about how that if you have a warm introduction, you are 13 times more likely to be funded, which is an unbelievable stat, isn't it? 13 times more likely. So it is critical, actually.
It is. I completely believe it now. Now you've said that, to be honest, it makes a world of a difference. All of these, the people who we've brought on board, all of them, we've either known for a number of years or through introductions.
Yeah. And I think when it comes to relationships and rapport, and that is so critical. You're right. It's not about you pitching to someone, and it's about you getting to know each other and seeing if the fit's right. But it doesn't necessarily have to take years for that to happen. I think that can be built quite quickly, but it's so important that entrepreneurs get into that mindset of finding fit rather than thinking pitching, selling, if that makes sense.
Yeah, precisely. So some of our, within our investment round, some of our connections weren't over years. They were literally a week or two. Wow. And so some of them are very quick, but once you start closing the investment rounds, do all the negotiations, all the term sheets, etc., it does become months. And so it depends.
And you've got six main investors, is that right, on this round?
Yes.
Led by the Startup Funding Club.
Correct. And we love our investors to bits. They've just been phenomenal. Just the advice, the help, the support, just because they've seen it before. They know what works, what doesn't, and having that as kind of that emotional, that physical support. Just having our board meetings, just sitting down discussing with them is super valuable. And I think it's not just about kind of the funding. It's around the network, the opportunities that come out of that.
So just to help other people understand how you brought that round together. So you've got your lead investor, which is the Startup Funding Club.
Yeah.
You have 5 other partners. And if you could just explain a little bit about so are they so that everybody listening can understand? Are they angel groups or VCs, and how did that all come together?
Okay, so the people who we brought on board were three kind of angels. So Jeff Hughes, who works for Microsoft. We have Simon Samuel, who's the director of Talent Arc. He's our kind of a HR guru. And we have Diraj Mukherjee, who's the founder of Shazam, or co-founder of Shazam. So those are kind of our three. And so Jeff, we've known for a long time. And, we just said, we're doing our investment round. Would you be interested? The others have been kind of, I've met them or kind of either through introductions. Then we have three kind of the other entities are Foresight and Mass, who we've kind of also through introductions, in fact, started Funding Club, the lead, and we have VGC partners as well. And so that's kind of our group. And initially it was just everyone meet everyone. We're all going in this round together. Let's work together as much as possible. And also having lots of term sheets flying around. Everyone had their own kind of term sheets, making sure everyone has one collective one. And that's thanks to our lawyers as well, helping us and do that to make sure everyone's on the same page.
Yeah, that must have been really hard, because you are working with investors who all know what they're doing. They all have their own term sheets.
Yes.
Your lawyer was really instrumental in bringing that.
100%. I think that was the key thing, having a lawyer who's done this before. And thankfully, so Nicola, who I've known for a number of years, has really helped shape that kind of term sheet, shareholder agreement, because everyone had different expectations, different numbers, different, and everyone's putting in different values as well. To make sure there's a standardized version was absolutely crucial, and that probably takes the longest time, more than just closing the investment round.
Yeah, I mean, how long did the whole thing take then, from start to finish?
Oh, a long time. So I think we had closed everything. Everything was done in December. December, January time. Everything was all done. Everyone knew how much they're putting in, all of that, and then by the time the money came into account, it was probably about end of March.
Okay, so was it sort of 6 months, or was it longer?
So collectively about 3 months from when everyone's agreed to going, I'm putting this amount, to doing the term sheets, to the shareholder agreements, to having the money all in the account. That was probably 3-4 months, I would say. Wow,
so you must have also had a process before that when you were actually pitching. So
precisely, and that's another 6 months process before that. So it's all about planning and making sure you accommodate, because I was the one who was doing business development and the one raising the investment round at the same time, and they're both full-time commitments and jobs. And so it's around, okay, am I meant to be pitching, or do I need to go speak to someone, or do I need to make a sales contact, or do I need to go and speak to this investor? It's all about managing those expectations and making sure you have enough leeway to, don't, run out of funding 1 month before and go, I need investors. You should at least have 6 to 1 year, 6 months to 1 year to be able to, finalize that round properly, I'd say.
I mean, I can't tell you how many entrepreneurs come to me and say, I need to raise the money, yesterday.
Yeah.
So how much cash runway have you got? Maybe, 2 months. I'm like, oh my goodness, you've got to plan ahead, haven't you? You just have to.
100%. And we were thinking about raising, was it a year before we even started, to be honest. So we've always tried to kind of be as organized as possible, make sure everything all lines up before we went, and that includes due diligence packs, which are really important when everyone, here's the pitch deck, it's like, can you send me due diligence? Okay. Having that done and sorted beforehand helped a great deal, just to show that the investors like to see that you're serious and dedicated.
I think it's the first thing you should do, to be honest with you, before you've even built your pitch deck, is do your due diligence.
Have everything there. Saves a lot of time. It might take a few weeks to put it together, but once it's there, you have that.
Yeah, it saves you all that time down the line and that heartache when you can't find all that stuff that you need to put in your due diligence.
Oh gosh, yes. Where did I put the document? Where has it gone? Where have I put it?
And I mean, it's a really great point you make about how you're pretty much doing 2 full-time jobs at the same time when you're fundraising, which is a real energy sucker, isn't it? How did you cope through that process? What was the kind of support you had around you during that time?
Yeah, so I was at Reading at the time when we were raising an investment round, and Reading to London is 30 minutes, right? I would go in, meet some investors, and I was like, nope. And that 30-minute journey back was a very long time to reflect and overthink and analyze everything. Did I say this wrong? Did I overthink this? Is this right? And so having support, having people who have either done this before, but family, friends, co-founder, team, just to give you, because you need to be mentally prepared as well as physically prepared for this investment round. I think I didn't realize that at all when going into it and going, oh, it's not going to be a good, we're not going to get through this investment round, or what am I doing? You start to doubt yourself and everything. And so having someone there to kind of be able to go, you're doing this right, you're doing the right thing, just keep going, keep at it. It gives you that motivation, that energy, that dedication to keep going. Because getting rejections isn't easy to take in. It does take a lot of toll on you, and you start to over worry and doubt yourself sometimes. So having my friends, my family, my co-founder, my team just around me, mentors, that 1 year process, I think, I don't know what would have happened if I didn't have them there, to be honest.
Yeah, it's tough. It is tough mentally more than anything.
It is. It's the mental, I think.
You have to become a little bit thick-skinned, don't you? But at the same time, you do want to be able to take on board what people are saying and reflect and think, actually, is that right? Do I need to rethink that a little bit? Or
yes, precisely. And at the end of the process, we ended up having like 3-4 pitch decks, all slight variations, because every VC firm or angel investor likes to hear things in different ways. Some were explain the problem to me, or some were like, no, explain the vision first, or no, I want to hear about the technology and its application. So everyone you have to find out what makes them tick at an individual level, and making sure you can present that to them in that way.
You've got to be very nimble, haven't you, to be able to, in that pitch meeting, anticipate that, to read the investor, and have the flexibility to be able to pull bits out that are relevant to them.
Precisely. Most of it is about listening, to be honest, more than talking. It's making sure you answer their questions, trying to understand body language and what excites them, what doesn't. And for me, I love talking about the big grand vision of what we have, but for some people it's around, okay, what's your next step for the next year? And so it's around being able to tune yourself in your thoughts, in the way you pitch and present things to everyone, and making sure it's consistent throughout as well. It's absolutely crucial.
Yeah, I mean, I always say it's a conversation that you're having with an investor, not pitching. I think too many people think, I'm just going to pitch this for 10 minutes and I'm going to speak at them and then sit and say you're going to invest, and it doesn't really work like that. It needs to flow.
It does. It definitely does. So we did do kind of pitching events, in fact, and that really does help in terms of giving you the confidence to present. So if you saw our very first pitch deck and you saw the one we have now, you would think, this is completely different. What has happened? And that's just because we've gone to so many of these pitching events to be able to tweak and understand and get the feedback. And that criticism really does help in being able to tailor yourself. So when we got to actually speaking to investors and meeting them, we're much more refined. We knew we had confidence in what we were saying. We knew exactly potentially what questions they may ask. And you can actually prepare for that beforehand. If they're going to ask about competition, you should know your competitors inside out, from how much money have they raised to their co-founders. All of this needs to be stored in there so they can take you seriously. And it really is an art of kind of communication, body language, and preparation.
And those pitch events, I mean, it's something that you see a lot of these pitch events, and there are mixed views about how effective they are at raising investment. Did you get any investors at any of the pitch events you did? Did you get any investment off the back of it, or did you see it really as about being pitch practice?
So we did meet tons of investors out of that experience, to be honest. I think the first time we started going to these pitch events was probably 2 years ago. Probably went to a few in a year, to be honest, and met lots of investors. And what I've done really, which is really useful, is every investor I've met, I kind of keep in contact with, send them regular updates, give them kind of, this is what we've done this month, or this is our aim for the next couple of months. So I've always kept that reputation with all these investors that we've met at these pitching events or generally, and that keeps to help that communication and dialogue open. But mostly these events, these pitching events we went to, is more about practice for us. We did hope we would get investment from them, which is, I think, what many people think, which is fine. And I think many people do get investment through those. But for us, it was more about, are we presenting this right? Is this the things they want to hear? And there's, with what our solution, there's so many ways we can pitch this as well. Do we talk about the unconscious bias first? Do we talk about the HR market? And being able to go through these events and pitching at them, we can refine what we were saying. And it really was about honing down that and practicing. It was very helpful for us.
Fantastic. And let's just talk a little bit about female founders. We touched on it earlier when I was talking about the Rose report, but
yes,
obviously you're aware of the stats in terms of how little funding goes to female founders, how many women entrepreneurs do receive different challenges around raising finance. What was your experience? Did you see a difference? Did you feel a difference because you were a female founder or not?
No, I didn't feel a difference. And I think I didn't feel a difference and I didn't notice a difference because I didn't think about it. Because if the stats are against me, right? Because I'm female, I'm ethnic minority. Most of the diversity things are, I can literally tick, to be honest. And if I went in with that mentality, I probably wouldn't raise any investment because it'd be 0.001 that I would raise any money. And so I didn't think about it at all. I would just go in and think, okay, forget about all these things. It's about the idea. It's about what we've built. It's about our vision and our aim. And the only thing that I would discuss or talk about with anyone is that. And if they weren't going to invest, I wasn't going to take it because I was a female founder or ethnic minority or any of that. It's purely because they had some critique or the HR market's very competitive or all of these things. So I completely just put it at the back of my mind and I did not think about it at all, because I think that will probably worry me more and I'd have probably more self-doubt than if I just didn't think about it.
I think that's right. It can become a self-fulfilling prophecy. And you can go in feeling a bit defensive, and it can get your confidence in the wrong place if you go in there assuming they're going to be judging you on that basis.
Precisely. So the best thing is just not think about it, to be honest. Just, it's all about your passion, your vision, your team, your technology, what you've built. And that should be it's building kind of that meritocratic society and being sure that it's all about talent as opposed to all these other factors, because ideas can come from anyone.
Yeah, fantastic. I love your attitude. It's brilliant.
Thank you.
And so, from everything that you've learned during that fundraising campaign, what would be the top advice you'd give to other women entrepreneurs who are thinking about going out there and raising finance?
The first one I say, don't overthink. Just do it. I'm going to steal Mike's phrase on this one. Just literally just do it. Don't overthink. But plan ahead. Make sure that you know what you're doing. Have people around you that support you and believe in you, because you don't want anyone with negative criticism just completely throw you in a tangent. Making sure you have that due diligence pack, perfect your pitch deck as much as possible, build that reputation relationship with these investors. It's not just kind of an overnight sensation kind of thing where you see on the media someone's raised a few millions and it's as if it was done yesterday. It takes time. I'd say those are probably the key things, and don't worry and don't overthink. You'll just believe in yourself and you'll get there.
Yeah, fantastic advice. Thank you. So what's next for you and what's next for the business?
Oh, it's all about scaling for us at the moment. We're hiring, increasing the team size, making sure that MeVitae is in the hands of as many enterprise companies out there, and trying to make sure that it's we have this kind of tech for good theme. It's, as long as it's doing an increasing kind of diverse and inclusion of thoughts and ideas in these organizations, then we're doing the right thing. And it's around keeping doing that and making sure that, companies see the benefit. And if you ask my CTO what the vision is and the aim is, right, keep building technology and applying it, which is completely true, and just applying it to solving kind of these big challenges in the employment sector. And we've got big plans on wanting to achieve that. So I think that's the next step for us.
Do you think you're going to need more funding to get there, or is it going to be a while before you'll need to raise again?
Possibly might do another round, but that's probably not right now. At the moment, it's just around proving that model, showing companies the benefits, the ROI, and the impact it has, and scaling it out. If we want to release a new kind of product, or we want to jump into another geographical location, etc., then we will consider investment rounds. But now I've learned, I will plan ahead.
So it's heads down and get it out.
It is.
Well, congratulations again. I wish you all the best with the business.
Thank you so much. Really appreciate it.
We should be watching the company with great interest to see how you get on. I'm sure you'll fly.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it, Julie.
Take care.
Take care. Bye.
Thanks for following Fundraising Stories with Female Founders. This content is all provided to you for free, so if you've enjoyed today's episode, please subscribe so you never miss another one. Enter the Arena has helped hundreds of female founders fly through pre-raise and investment and onto the exponential growth of their business. Our first-hand experience, expert guidance, and proven programs help female founders unleash the Wonder Woman inside. To see if we can help you do the same, head over to www.enterthearena.co.uk. I'm Julia Elliott Brown, and I look forward to talking with you soon.